really starting to build up. We focus on your face, the camera starts to swivel, we reveal the fire. Last year, I was able to work with a Hollywood actor for my short film, The Statement. This guy, Zach Levi, who's been the star in TV shows like Chuck, a character in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and seen as the Disney prince in the film Tangled, and the lead superhero character in the film Shazam. So you're like, Zach, whoa, what? How did you, what did it about? I know, I would have said the same thing if I watched this video like 2 years ago. I'd be like, wait, what? How? This journey of being able to do this is not the conventional route of how you get to work with a big actor. It's actually probably one of the most unconventional ways to be able to get there.
Smack your butt for a second.
But there is a lot of lessons within this journey, and it all starts on a road trip across Canada. But before we jump into that, let's actually talk about the other steps, the traditional routes to perhaps make your way to how I got to my opportunity. There's about 4 ways of how to be able to get to being able to work on this level. The first route is to get recognized. This is the one that we all sort of compete for, which is essentially to make that short film or feature film that ends up getting recognized by a Hollywood producer, a big production company, or somehow that big director ends up scouring the internet, finding your short film on it, and ends up helping you make a feature-length adaptation of that horror film, which then leads you to later on making other feature films and gets you the opportunity to work with a big Hollywood actor on a superhero film. It's a very specific story. But that route feels really narrow. It almost feels like you're 1 in a million to be recognized. First, you need to make a really good short film, which that's already hard enough as it is. Second, that film then needs to go viral and get a ton of attention, so you need to make something that's really catchy. Third, you need to then get that film in front of someone who's big in Hollywood. And fourth, that person then needs to help you make the big feature film, and that film actually also has to be good, and then you gotta be really good along the rest of the way. So that's a long process. Then all of a sudden you feel like super small in that. So then there's the second route, which is, it's all about who you know, which I'm sure you've probably heard about this, and that's sort of the path that I took on this route to making this movie with Zach.
Holy shit, that got bright.
But it's essentially, you know someone who perhaps knows someone else, and you're able to rub shoulders with that person and eventually be able to collaborate with them on a project. I've actually been able to do this by getting financing for movies, and this is known through a term called networking, which was relatively popular when the world was turned back on. You were able to go to film festivals and be able to schmooze with people at the bar after the film's played. This is becoming a little bit more difficult, but the number one way to be able to schmooze or make your way up the ladder is to be able to go to film festivals, get your movies shown at film festivals, which kind of roots to the first thing of situation 1, which is you gotta make a good movie. And in fact, I actually say that blankets across most of these. You gotta make a good first impression, and usually that's a good first movie or a good script or good concept. The third one is one that's not necessarily fun, but it's part of the process, which is money. You just have a lot of money. Some people who have enough money are able to go out and find people to hire within their films, like maybe Nicolas Cage, for example, and get them to be in their movie. Maybe you were born wealthy, or maybe you won the lottery. And the reality of this is you're probably not gonna be able to work with a lot of big stars if your film isn't that good. If your movie sucks, they're not gonna be like, oh yeah, money, I'll take it for the money. They're still artists as well, and a reputation on the line also. So even though you have money, it's not necessarily gonna guarantee you or grant you access to be able to work with these big people. And for the all about who you know route 2, if you have a really good movie, something super solid, and you're able to get it woven up the path to someone with some notoriety within the industry, and they like that movie too, they'll spread the word for you and help you get it out there. And that might land its way on the desk of someone who's relatively large. There's a short film that Bryan Cranston did while they were filming Breaking Bad with some of the cast and crew members because he just wanted to help them out and make this movie. They had this cool concept. He's a passionate freaking artist. So at the peak of Breaking Bad's shooting, between days of shooting, I think they took a break. He shot this cool film noir, black and white type film with some of the crew members. And this happens across the board with a lot of big actors in short films. Just because they're really good at what they do doesn't mean that they're jerks and don't want to make good art. They are artists to begin with. And if they have the opportunity to work on art as well, so long as it doesn't sacrifice their career, then it's a win-win. Which leads you to my journey, which is, I'll call it the end of the dial, where I was able to collaborate with Zach Levi on a passion project of mine during COVID lockdown. So how did I do this? How did I end up getting to this spot right here? Let's rewind the clocks back 1 full year. A friend of mine was helping host a party out in Texas for a friend of his and invited me to go out to capture it. Basically, I was gonna be an attendee to the party, and he basically said, Zach, if you come, enjoy the party, capture, take some videos and photos and do the thing that you do, I think it'd be really cool and help you out in your career. And that was literally the most I knew. I thought it was a cool opportunity. And since the guy who invited me out, Nick, is one of my dearest friends, and I trust a lot of the stuff that he throws my way, I ended up heading out to Texas to do this. So I shot this really neat recap video, took a ton of photos, and within that period, I assembled it all into a same-day edit, revealing it at the end of the event for the host of the event, Zach. Little did I know a lot about his career, his celebrity, and actually who he was. Eventually, we were able to bond, connect, and this video spurred on an incredible opportunity, which then took up the next year of my life. I migrated back and forth between Canada and Texas, helping and collaborating as a creative out in Texas on this project called Wyldwood. I'm gonna take a quick pause on this story and share with you one of my key tips on how to get anywhere in life and how I've been able to get this opportunity. Okay, I wanna share with you this process called turning the needle, which is sort of this mental process that I've taken moving forward with most projects, where essentially I want you to picture a dial. And on that dial, there's the point to where you wanna get to, and there's the point to where you're at. Now, the point to where you're at is at the beginning of the dial, and the point to where you wanna get to is a full 360 to the other side. Now, obviously, every single one of us wants to get to the other side as fast as possible, so we disregard all of the steps that it takes to actually get there and have this thing called expectation, which rushes us to that point. The reality is we can never get to where we expect, and hence why many of us are very disappointed to where we are. But rather, the best technique that you can take forward is to do one dial move at a time. Now, that might take a whole year to just shift a tiny part of the dial, and that was a process that I took. I chipped away slowly. So essentially, my path is I took a small sliver of what I wanted, and at the end was this collaboration. I really wanted to be able to make something big. Now, every single move that I did was not with that intention. Rather, it was a subconscious thing that was in the back of my head that I was hoping would some point lead to that position. But I never did I move or operate with that thought in my head. I just wanted to be able to slowly progress forward and chip away and turn that dial. I made my way to Texas and spent an entire year creating and living and making cool content. Then all of a sudden, COVID came around and we were all trapped on the property. And there was this awesome opportunity where we just wanted stuff to do. So overnight, I come up with this concept with my cinematographer, Carl, and we sort of pinballed the idea back and forth. And eventually by the morning, I had this whole sci-fi-esque idea in my back pocket that I pitched to Zach the next day. And eventually, he was actually super stoked to do this. And one thing led to another, and we started making the movie. And so all of that had started 1 year prior by shooting this 4th of July video. Working with Zach was just the tip of a very large iceberg. In 1 year, we built an incredible friendship, the most cherished memories, and a destination that will forever encapsulate a sliver of time that will never be forgotten. This experience shattered my perception that you need to be greedy, mean, and rude to make it to the top, and that a headstrong attitude is what you need to achieve a successful life. That's complete bullshit. The truth is, if you want to make it, you've got to be patient and kind along the way. And just understand that we all have our different paths. Some of us will make a successful YouTube video that grows to become viral, while others might have to move to a foreign place like Texas and turn their dial much slower. But the reality is we all have our own dials to turn that turn at different paces and speeds. And whatever journey you're on right now, you're at the beginning of some new turn and getting closer to the end of another. What I want to share with you guys is the journey of filmmaking, the journey of creation is not about that sort of pie in the sky thing that you're never getting and it's always running away from you. You're not catching it. Eventually you will, but you just need to know that to get to that point, it takes slowly turning that dial. And in fact, this dial turn started way back. It didn't actually start with this 4th of July weekend. It started on this road trip way back 2 years prior where me and Nick were on this cross Canada RV trip with a friend of ours, Zark, and little did I know that would lead me to this moment, and that friendship would lead me to this moment of this collaboration. So I'm gonna distill this all down to 3 tangible things for you to have. And they're 3 tools that I use to get myself to this point. 1, creativity, and a good story. You've got to make sure that you've got something that people want to cling onto. And that could either be collaborators who maybe aren't celebrity status, but they're talented creatives. And that is what can get you to that point. That's how I ended up shooting a feature-length film that was all POV and had a whole cast and crew and actors come out for basically pennies and make my dream come true with that project. The second thing that you need to have is ambition. You need to be ambitious at whatever you're doing and understand that these steps and things that you want, whether it's to get the hand in the cookie jar and get what you want, all of that takes moving the dial and turning your way to that point, and to eliminate expectation from that equation and rather just be consistently persistent. When they talk about YouTube videos and the best way to succeed, they say consistency is what will get you there. Now, while maybe consistency isn't something the algorithm looks at, it's something that your own track record and skills look at, and it is something that can continually build up your craft. Final thing on that list of 3 is just be a good person. I'm not kidding. Like, that literally is what will get you from A to B the fastest. No one's gonna work with you. You're never gonna go anywhere. You're gonna have a terrible life if you're terrible to everybody else. And I know that sounds super vague, and of course you probably know those rules because your mom told them to growing up. But the truth is, good people just go further. And of course, we all have the image of the celebrities or mean people, and the people at the top, like Jeff Bezos, are evil, greedy people. But the reality is they have good in them because people wanted to work with those folks. And of course, we hear the stories of the Steve Jobs of the world who are perhaps these monster-esque people, but there are some people who are just talented and can make it to the top and be jerks about it. But the vast majority of us have to be good people to get to where we want to go. And at the end of the day, do you want to be enjoying the process of you getting there, or do you just want to be a dick and hate everybody your whole way there? There's 2 options. I think you probably want the first one. That's it, folks. Those are sort of the tools of how I was able to get to do my dream project. And I'm not going to say that you can do the same, but I'm telling you, whatever your sort of pie in the sky goal is, always remember that wherever you want to go, it's all about turning the dial. Turning the needle, pushing the needle. So getting to where I was just part of the process, but making a good movie, like I kept saying, is also consistently the thing. And when I actually got the opportunity to do this, I was on the wheels were turning of how do I actually put this into motion. And all of my skills that I used to make the movie with Zach all came from and are all part of my online film program that I created with a group of collaborators called Pocket Film School. And Pocket Film School is this online learning program that teaches all aspects of filmmaking from start to finish. And it's taught by not just me, but a handful of other incredible creatives out there, from writers, directors, producers, cinematographers, VFX artists, music composers, you name it. We put the best in the biz together and created this program that I guarantee once you finish start to finish, you will have the skills you need to collaborate with whoever is in your vicinity. So that's it, folks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in another video. Absolutely love you.